Hi there. Today we're going to talk about Russian filmmaker and theorist Sergei Eisenstein and his famous methods of montage. Since the word montage has come to mean any edited sequence, it's important to note that while all montage contains editing, not all editing is true montage with a capital M. If the cut simply shows us another physical angle of the scene, coverage as it is commonly known, this is not montage in the Soviet sense of the word. According to Eisenstein, montage was combining shots that are depictive, single in meaning, neutral in content, into intellectual contexts and series. In other words, two neutral images colliding to illustrate a third, undepictable thing. So now that we have a basic understanding of what montage is, and isn't, let's dive into Eisenstein's 5 methods. Metric montage is cutting according to an exact measured meter or length of time, irregardless of the content of the shot itself. Eisenstein cites the patriotic demonstrations from the end of St. Petersburg as an example of metric montage. Here the cuts are made irregardless of their individual content, but rather to create a sense of chaos amid the gunfire and explosions. Another utilization of metric montage is in ratcheting up tension by shortening the pieces while preserving the original proportions of the formula. Also referred to as continuity editing, rhythmic montage is the easiest to spot and most widely used method of montage. Everything from car chases to dialogue scenes utilize rhythmic montage.
No animal jokes.
Well, I only got the chance to say one because we only did one show.
In rhythmic montage, each shot's practical length derives from the specifics of the piece and from its planned length according to the structure of the sequence. The Odessa Steps sequence from Eisenstein's own battleship Potemkin is a prime and most frequently cited example of rhythmic montage, and indeed has been homaged and parodied many times throughout the years. Now, montage methods are not mutually exclusive, and metric and rhythmic elements are certainly found within our next 2 methods. Tonal montage is based on the characteristic emotional sound of the piece. That's great, Sergei, but what exactly does it mean? Well, think of tone in this sense as any visual or oral characteristic that 2 different shots could share in common. An example from the more recent The Revenant perfectly illustrates not just one, but several instances of tonal montage in sequence. In the following edits, it is a motif of fogginess or haze that unifies the shots. There are other tonalities you can use as the basis for your montage as well. Wong Kar-wai uses graphical or compositional tonality as a basis for montage in his acclaimed In the Mood for Love, as both main characters are discovered at their writing desks, framed within the additional frames of the set architecture, tonally connected to the idea that they are both trapped alone in their circumstances. In these series of shots from Martin Scorsese's The Age of Innocence, light tonality drives the edits. In this cut from Apocalypse Now, oral tonality is utilized. Overtonal is by its nature more abstract and complicated than the methods discussed up until now. As Eisenstein puts it, from the moment that overtones can be heard parallel with the basic sound, there also can be sensed vibrations, oscillations that cease to impress as tones, but rather as purely physical displacements of the perceived impression. One scene famous for cross-cutting and rife with overtonal montage is the baptism sequence from The Godfather Part 1. Many themes, tones, and overtones intermingle in this sequence that treats violence as a holy writ, shows the connection between religion and corruption, and sanctifies the actions of a murderer.
I do renounce them.
Filmmakers like Terrence Malick and David Lynch, famous for their poetic approach to filmmaking, where mood and tone supersede logic and plot, oftentimes rely heavily on overtonal montage. Eisenstein said intellectual montage is montage not of general physiological overtonal sounds, but of sounds and overtones of an intellectual sort. One glaringly obvious example from a well-known film is the cross-cutting of the caribou being slaughtered with Willard killing Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. famous match cut in 2001: A Space Odyssey, from the bone to the orbital weapon satellite, is another prime example of intellectual montage. So there you have it, folks. Eisenstein's 5 methods of montage, explained and exemplified for your viewing pleasure.